Okay, Dr. Wilson, thank you for clarifying what syncretism is, but how does religion and politics apply?
Okay,
How does
well,
it apply?
thank you. And it's sort of the same way. Remember I talked about how Buddhism comes in, it has a good idea. The Chinese like parts of it, but the other parts of it don't fit. And they only take the parts that somehow relate to a core idea they already have. So in Buddhism, it's perfection of the soul, it's helping poor people. Now you can do the same with politics, because another idea that came in from the outside was Marxist-Leninism. Marx was a German, Lenin was a Russian. These are two people who formulated the ideas of Marxist-Leninism. They get kind of carried off to China, and Mao Zedong says he's a Marxist-Leninist. He says he's going to create a new socialist man. He's going to replace all of China, old Chinese thought, with Marxist-Leninism. Well, people in the West, like presidents and secretaries of state and leading scholars, were all into, oh, the Chinese have gone over to Marxist-Leninism. No, not quite. All the Chinese did was take in from Marxist-Leninism what they could use. So Marxist-Leninist talks about helping poor people. Oh, well, okay, that's fine, that's good for that. And Marxist-Leninism talks about an authoritarian structure. You can't afford to let rich people come in and steal from the poor people. So you have to have a strong government that keeps those rich people under control and makes them help poor people, because otherwise they're not willing to do it. Authoritarian government, that works for the Chinese. It fits with their Chinese traditional thought. But along with it, the Marxists believe in materialism, pure materialism, dialectical materialism they call it. That means everything is material. That is, there's no spiritual world. The Chinese are not going to go for that. No. They believe in animism. No, they believe in Taoism. There's something called the Tao out there floating around that we're supposed to live by. They're not going to go for that. And if you're a dialectical materialist, you have to be an atheist. So Marxist-Leninism, in its pure form, is atheistic. Chinese aren't, not at all. So they're only going to take the parts that really fit. And even a leader like Mao Zedong, who says he's going to get rid of the old Chinese ideas, when he talks about learning from the Soviet Union, what does he say? He says we have to learn from our older brother. Remember the older brother thing from the hierarchy? Yeah. Older brother, younger brother. We, the younger brother, have to learn from the older brother.
Yeah.
Where in Marxism is that? Nowhere at all. It's purely Chinese. Also, a bunch of the things that Mao talks about are spirit and will. If you have the spirit to prevail, the spirit to win the guerrilla war, the spirit to win changing everybody's mind, where'd that spirit come from? No, it doesn't fit at all. It's a Chinese idea. So that's what the Chinese do. Now, let's update this a little bit. I would argue, and I do argue, that our perception of communist China as Marxist-Leninist was a mistake. They really were always Confucian. Now, Confucianism was under attack, but Mao could only attack Confucianism by using Confucian techniques, because unless he was speaking to the Chinese cultural mind, he wasn't going to get through it all. Marx dies. What happens to Marxist-Leninism? It's out. You know, as soon as he's gone, within 3 years, it's already being dismantled by Deng Xiaoping. So, we in America say, Deng Xiaoping came along. He's read his Western economic theory. He's read a famous person say, like Milton Friedman or George B. Shultz, and now they're going to be capitalists. Really? No, I don't think so. So if we look at another chart, a capitalism chart, we have individualism. The Chinese are not going to go for that. But they will go for the part about hard work will be good for all of us, right?
Right.
We can believe that. We work hard in America. We make America strong. Make America great again, maybe you want to say. We make them strong, we work hard, right?
Right.
Well, the Chinese can relate to that. They have this Confucian saying, remember? I read it in another thing. Let the producers be many, the consumers be few, let there be energy in production, let there be economy and expenditure, then the wealth will always be sufficient. That's Confucius. That's hard work for the good of all of us. It fits with both. They've taken from the capitalism something that they could relate to. And also, the capitalist system talks about contracts, the rule of law, order, peace. Peace. The fundamental thing about the enterprise is not to have a war. Wars are very expensive. Wars, you spend all this money to build a bomb. What does a bomb do? It doesn't build a bridge, it doesn't build a skyscraper, it just blows a big hole in the ground. There is in free enterprise a notion that we will do things to supply goods so people won't have to steal them from others in a war. So, okay, those two ideas fit, but the individualism, forget about that. We're not going to do the individualism. All right, now the same thing happens with democracy. Okay? Are there things about democracy that the Chinese can relate to? They're not, they don't have anything in their background that calls for democracy. But we start talking about democracy, they say, well, democracy can give you order, and it can give you peace, so we're for that. And it can give you majority rule, or consensus. Let's all agree about this. The Chinese say, okay, we'll go with that. So they'll take that much in. Now, what won't they take in? Well, American democracy rests on the belief of checks and balances, of separation of powers, of federalism, and above all, it has things like individual rights and free speech. The Chinese say, well, no, wait a minute. No. What's going to happen is you're going to have this free speech. Sooner or later, people are going to start calling one another names, like you have a presidential contest and everybody's screaming at one another. You're not going to get peace out of that. You might even get violence. You might have violent fistfights. We don't want that. That's Luan. We don't want Luan. So we're not going to have federalism. We're not going to have checks and balances. We're not going to have separation of powers. We're going to have one unified political tone. So what have we just seen here? What we have seen is an enduring Chinese traditional thought with a Confucian core. It's endured now for 2,300 years. It is, as it faces the world, a peaceful ideology. They might take in some little area where they think the bandits are, just to stop the bandits from coming in. But anything beyond that, they're not interested. They have endured two long stretches when they were conquered by the Mongols and later the Manchus. They survived. In fact, when the Mongols came in, they became Sinophile. They became Chinese. They let China run itself the way it had always run itself. The Manchus did the same thing. And although Mao Zedong said he was attacking Confucianism, what was he really doing? Well, he was using Confucian techniques to stay in power. And he knew he could only stay in power and preach his sort of Marxist-Leninist ideas if he spoke to the Chinese people on their emotional, cultural level.
Gotcha.
He said he was trying to destroy Confucianism, and I suppose maybe he was. But did he succeed? No. The culture survived. The core of the culture has survived from 220 BC, 200 years before the birth of Christ, up till the 21st century. And that core is still there, taking the good stuff from outside, but never completely converting.
So Confucianism is in relation that ongoing culture that you teach your child and you teach your family members, and it keeps on going, and everybody believes the same
Exactly.
culture.
And you may remember this one little thing, which I love, from the video of China and Revolution. There's a girl in a white dress with black polka dots, and she said, "We believe in the Father God," an animistic idea. We believed in the Father God, even during the Cultural Revolution. But Mao's horoscope was too strong, and the gods couldn't come out. But once he died, the gods came back. She is saying Confucianism survives. Confucianism and its core values, which might include animism, survives.
Gotcha.
Okay?
So you can't deter it.
Right. And syncretism has been a core part of the whole Chinese view. Good question.